And we're back. Now, when I teach woodworking, the first project that I have my students build is called a boot jack. Boot jack, very common out here in the Southwest. You can hook your heel of your shoe in here, pull your foot out. Very, very nice when your boots are muddy, or perhaps it's been a long day and you're tired and you just don't feel like bending over and being out of breath just to get your shoes off. You can buy these in most Western stores, Western clothing stores, Western shoe stores, boot stores. These will have some kind of cloth or leather around here to cushion it so you don't scratch your shoes up. In this case, they've sanded it really nice. A lot of times they'll be stained, different colors. They'll have some cloth or leather here at this end so that you don't mark up the floor. This project involves several items. It's a one-board project. It involves determining the center, laying out an angle, cutting that angle, determining how high you want your support to be, cutting that support off of the end, doing what we call a dado cut, where you actually cut a slot out of here, putting your piece of wood in for your support, and then gluing it in. So this is a one-board project that involves a little bit of planning. So I'll set that over there. And this is the plan that the students get. So you have to determine the center using a tape measure or other device. Draw your 45-degree angle, cut out the V or the notch. Determine the height you want your project, cut that out of the opposite end. Using a back saw, you can lay out the desired location for your support and cut 2 grooves to begin your dado cut. Then we're going to use a wood chisel to do our dado cut, and that involves some skill using the wood chisel, checking it for fit, and then finally gluing it together. And as always, we tell them measure twice, cut once. And that's important because several of the boot jacks that we've had built have had some issues. Either the support's too high, or we've had students that get in a hurry. This particular one here, and I'm not going to mention the student's name, but this one here is one that we've repaired, but was in a hurry, blew out this whole side on this softwood, blew this chunk out right here. Still turned out nice. We were able to fix it, and this will be an extra one that we have. So, first step, determining the center of the piece of wood. If you just watched my previous video, we could determine the center by drawing an X and connecting the corners, but in this case, I want to have a V cut up here in the top end. So using my speed square, very simply what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pencil, and again, allowing for the width of the pencil, putting the pencil lead right on the corner, I'm just going to draw a light line. Then I'm going to flip this over and do another, I guess I could do it this way, do another 45-degree, starting at the corner, and right here is the center of my piece of wood, and here is my triangle that I'm going to cut out of the piece of wood right there. While I'm at it though, let me go ahead. Most of us, what we've been using is a 3-inch stand. So I'm going to measure 3 inches from the end, and then using my speed square, lining that up, I'm going to use that for my stand. Which brings us to, let's go ahead and cut the stand off. Actually, no, let's go ahead and do the V-notch, which means I'm going to have to move you, so here we go. You can see that I have several tools laid out on the table for us to use. I'll go into each one of the tools there in a moment. Let's see if I can do this, and I try not to appear on camera because I don't want to break the camera. And when you're using these bench vices, let me see if I can show you that bench vise right there. We want to pull but we don't want to over tighten. Okay, let me move you around here. There we go. Now, how do we do this? Wow, there we go. Whoa, let's move this back a little bit. This is what we call production on the fly. It's not very pretty, but you get this in real time. I don't cut anything, I don't edit. I do this in one take so that you kind of see the whole process. All right, when we're going to do the V-notch, I'm going to use this 9 points per inch, kind of a rip saw. It's a cross between a rip saw and a crosscut saw. But what we're going to do, and as you can see, please be careful, you don't want to injure yourself like I do. But we're going to lay this right at the corner. Let's see if I can do this working around the camera. I'm going to pull back. Come on, you can do this. I could easily take this over to the bandsaw and have it done in about 10 seconds. But the thing is, we were teaching the students to use the hand tools so that when I do teach them the power tools, they will appreciate the power tools even more. So I'm just going to use this two-handed, and I'm going to create a notch. As you can tell, I don't do this every day, so please don't compare me to the people at this old house or the ones that know how to do this because they do it all the time. But I'm going to drag it back. There we go. Now we're getting a notch going. And if I've done this correctly, and I'm going to hold the saw like I've shown before, finger goes the way I want to go. Come on, you. Anytime. Boy, this is embarrassing. But part of what I'm fighting is I'm fighting the grain here. And I probably should be using a different saw. We had several students using a coping saw, and they found that the coping saw gave them a crooked cut. Here we go. Nice long strokes. And I don't know if you can notice this, but the saw will basically follow the line just like that. Whoops. The saw will follow the line. So let me go ahead and go down here. We're a little off the line, but not by much. I'm going to go down here just at where it meets right here. There we go. Take off the spurs on that side. Now I'm going to take it over here. Same thing. Going to back cut this so that I can control it. Get the notch going. And off we go. Now, one thing before I finish this. Any place where we've removed the material, this is called the kerf, K-E-R-F, kerf. It's the cut. So we have to take into account, usually when we're cutting, the material that we're losing. And there we have that. Now, trick. If you don't like all this splintered wood on the back side, which we can easily sand out, a trick is to take masking tape or painter's tape and lay it down along the back of your cut, and the tape will hold the wood together, and you can peel it off and you have a nice smooth cut. I've got 40 students in my 2 classes that would use quite a bit of tape, and I'm cheap. Plus, I want them to practice sanding a little bit. So here's my triangle. If I had a little bit steeper angle on the triangle, and actually I can do this, we could create one of those golf tee games like you see in that restaurant along the freeways. And we can do that. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open the vise up, and while I'm here, I'm going to take off the part at the bottom for the stand. So I'm going to lay this down. I could do it vertically. I would prefer to do it horizontally so that I can follow the cut. Now let me see, check my, there we go, check this so that you can follow along. Here's my line right here. Same thing, I'm going to pull back a couple of times to start a notch, and whoops. Come on, there we go, and off we go. Before you get to the end, if I continued cutting at that angle, I'm going to get a big splinter of wood here at the end. One thing I'm going to do is when the blade is about even with the corner, I'm going to turn the saw up and actually back just a little bit, and then I'm going to continue my cut so that I don't have a big splinter that's coming off of either side right here. And I end up with a fairly even and uniform cut on my piece of wood. So now I have the basic outline of the boot jack done. I have the stand. The stand will go in here. And so my boot jack is about 2 steps from actually being completed. So let's move our camera back around so I can show you how to do the dado cut. So here we go. In order to do the dado cut, we got to keep our work area kind of organized. All right, you'll notice that I've been working around the knots, the defects in the wood here. This also has a little split because this right there, that point, this is the heartwood, and remember, heartwood is kind of a defect. We're using it to our advantage. We can get the grain to come out if we wanted to. So let me flip this back over. This is the same piece of wood I used a moment ago in another video. I'm going to use a wood clamp that I already have almost preset. Set it up with the edge. And I'm going to pull that around, tighten that down. Then I'm going to come in with my quick clamp. Now these I have issues with because of my fat fingers. But basically we set that up just like that. And if I can find the trigger, I can squeeze. And it still didn't work the way I wanted. So let's lay that off. Let's try it one more time. Put that in there. Reach underneath. There we go. Pull the trigger, and now we have this set. All right, let me get you set where I can work and you can watch. Just like that. All right. I need to put this piece of wood in here for my stand. I could screw it on just like this, but I want it to have a little bit more support, so I'm going to create what is called a dado cut. The first thing I need to do using my speed square is I'm going to come in and I'm going to lay myself a line across so that I have something to work off of that is straight. Now, how far back should I go? That's up to you. In my case, I'm going to come about 2 inches back, so I'm going to put a mark right there. And then if I can get my speed square to cooperate, yes I can, I'm going to draw me a line right there. And using my board as a guide, I'm going to put the board right up against the line, holding it down, and I'm going to draw another line straight across. Not quite as straight because I have the splinters here, but it's okay, I'll show you. Now, using what is called a back saw, this is also called a miter back saw, you can get this with a miter box so that you can cut different angles. I like this saw to use for the dado cuts because it's got this stiff back. If you notice, this saw is wobbly, but this saw doesn't move. And that's because of the stiff piece of steel they have back here. Now, let's see here. I'm going to have to rearrange you, so hang on just a sec. I am right-handed, so I need to be in where you were. Okay, so I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to lay this on the line, and using it as a two-handed tool, I'm going to just draw it back. Let's see if I can get it to make, there we go, to make the little noise that it makes. Excuse me, there we go. And so I'm going to backstroke it a few times so we get a notch going. And then there we go. I'm going to cut a groove in this piece of wood to serve as a guide for my dado cut. How deep am I going to go? I'm going to go about twice the depth of the teeth on this saw. Just like that. Pardon my bald head there. Then I'm going to lay this down parallel to that over the other line. I'm going to do the same thing. Come here. Just like that. Now what? Well, I got to get this wood out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a wood chisel and a mallet, and I am going to go basically along the growth rings here, and I'm going to just whack it. Just like that. And continue across. This is the part that takes the longest. Pardon my sniffly nose this morning. A lot of dust in the air. We had a cold front go through this week. We were 80 degrees on Wednesday. Thursday, we were 50 degrees at 7 o'clock in the morning. And we were 45 degrees at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And so the weather change has gotten to all of us. And it looks like my lines are not quite parallel, but they're close enough. We're using the wood chisel to loosen the pieces of wood that we're going to be removing so that we don't make any big gouges. And notice I'm using a mallet. Anytime you have a plastic handle or a wooden handle, you cannot use a hammer on here because you'll end up destroying the end of the handle of the tool. Instead, we use a mallet. In this case, this mallet is leather wrapped very tightly. And this mallet, as you can see, has been, as we say in the West, it's been rode hard and put up wet. It's kind of a horse term there. Horse people, you understand what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and continue across, and there we go. And I broke off a little piece right there. Perfect. Now, with the bevel side up, I'm going to come in here and place this at the bottom of the groove, and I'm going to take out this first rectangle. Just like that. Now, the issue we've had with students is they want to continue across, but with the bevel up, this wants to drive that chisel into the wood. So I'm going to turn the chisel over, and I'm going to put the bevel side down so that I have greater control, and then I'm just going to go across just like this. And I'm going to start taking the wood out. Then I'm going to come back. Now that I've established where the cut is, this is called a dado cut. And I'm going to go across, and I'm going to clean this out so that I have a place to put my support and glue it in. Notice it's trying to dig down. There's a soft spot here. This is the heart of the wood, so there's not really any support underneath. That little divot is not going to concern me. It's not going to make a difference in the functionality of this. It is going to make a difference in that I've got a little divot there, but I'm going to work around that. I'm going to go ahead and clean out the rest of my support here, my dado. And I'm working in real time. There's no editing. I don't edit my videos. I haven't gotten that sophisticated. I'm not like people that have professional setups. I'm sure I could get a freeware that I could use. But I like to do this in one fell swoop. Now, I've got an issue here. So I'm going to take this, because I have kind of a knot. I'm going to take the chisel, and on either side I'm going to just gently make sure that I have this set up so that I can just take that out. And one more time across. Just see if I can make some curly cues here. Nice and slow and gentle. Very nice. I can then use the chisel and the scraping motion that you can do with it. I can pull this across. And get that taken care of. I do think I'm a little higher on this end than I am at the other, so I'm just going to really briefly see if I can't. And this is what happens when you think, exactly, I'm about to break it, so I want to stop and I want to fix it. Let me see if I can fix this before I destroy it too badly. Yes, I can. There we go. Wanted to just take a little more out on this end to make sure that I've got it fairly level. Now, the whole purpose of this project is to give the students some experience with using the tools, because we would use the wood chisel and this type of a cut if we were putting in a door hinge. That's called a mortise. That's where we just take a piece out. A dado goes from edge to edge. It's a groove that is cut across a piece of wood. You can buy a dado head for your table saw. I don't have a dado head for a table saw, and at the moment I'm not inclined to buy one until I have a big project that we need to do several of these, and then I would be willing to invest the money. So now I have my dado. I'm going to take my piece of wood and I'm going to check it for fit. By golly, it fits pretty good. It seems like it's a little high right here. So let me take 1 second. And go across here. And take that out. Okay. Checking it for fit. Just like that. Okay, now I'm ready to glue. final step of the whole procedures. I'm ready to glue it together. So I have some wood glue, the very last of the bottle of wood glue that we were using. How do you do this? Well, I'm going to use the roughest side right here. This was the side I cut. It's very smooth. I don't think the glue is going to penetrate very deeply. But if I use the rough side where there's holes, the glue is going to penetrate into that even more. The object of the exercise is to lay a thick bead of glue down. If I can get this opened, make sure that it's open and ready to go. He said as all the glue runs to the other end. I'm going to start not at the edge, but I'm going to start, oh come on, of course you're not going to. I use my wood chisel in a manner that it's not made for, and see if I can't. Of course we have the cap of glue, so I will now use the wood chisel in the manner it is made for. All right, I'm going to lay a big bead of glue down. If I've got any glue to use, come on. And I'm going to lay a large bead across the top. I already have some that's falling off where it shouldn't be because it globbed on me. But I'm going to come across. You'll do this better. But I'm going to stop just before I get to the end. You'll notice that I went from just inside to just inside because when I push down, it's going to push that glue out. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to roll it in, push down. I want to see the glue in there. As a matter of fact, I'm going to see if I have any glue left. I'm going to push this drip down, and let's see if I have any left here. I can fill this in. Yes. Come on. Would help to open it back up. Yes. The miracles of live YouTubing. I'm going to put a bead across. And then I'm going to let gravity do its work. Using a piece of scrap wood, I'm going to maneuver some of that glue back into the groove since I was just a little bit wide. And just like that, our boot jack is now going to set for 24 hours. And it's going to dry. And then if I want, I can put a screw in from the other side to hold it in place. But if not, then this boot jack is ready to be sanded down and taken home. And that was project number 1 in my woodworking construction trades, 8th grade and high school, as a skill building exercise. Hope you enjoyed it. And the next one will be the classic toolbox. Stay tuned.